Hey, Patrick, how you doing, bud?
Not too bad at all. So we're doing another video from my neck of the woods. Well, the UK neck of the woods.
Well, it's
A couple of
Britannia.
100 miles. Yeah, another couple of 100 miles away from me. Not
Not
too
too
far.
far, right? Yeah, Jamie Gold on Heretics with Carl Benjamin, better known as Sargon of Akkad from the Lotus Eaters, talking about immigration issues in Britain and what could or should be done about it. So we'll let them get
Yes.
cooking right off the bat.
Is there any value in trying to help people who were born into less fortunate positions? And I get what you were saying before, which is like, well, yes, but whenever it's tried, the gap's even bigger, though, isn't it?
There are loads of ways of helping people. Stealing from other people just isn't one of them.
But people aren't going to just do it of their own volition. Not in high enough numbers.
Charity used to be a massive thing in this country. Like the Victorians had hundreds of different charities. The NHS began as a charity. Like charity used to be one of the core tenets of British life, and used to get used to have monuments to people who would spend huge amounts of money. I mean, for example, there's an interesting example in modern day. In San Francisco, there is the Zuckerberg Hospital. How do you think got that name?
That also has to do with status. So in giving to charities like that, in situations where the taxation wasn't super high, they were provided opportunities to pay more, in quotes, taxes by specifically giving to a certain kind of charity. And then they would get monuments and status and all kinds of stuff like that, where you are seen as being a better person, right?
But you'll have to remember, in Victoria, England, the charity that he's talking about were workhouses. Everyone, I think everyone read growing up Oliver Twist, did they?
I presume
so. Everyone did. Yes.
More, please. And some more, please, sir. And then they got
they were Victorian workhouses. We should know because we had plenty of them in Ireland at the time as well, during the Victorian era. So, yeah, it was charity, state charity, but you worked and then you were given a meal a day. You worked about 12 to 14 hours a day.
But the people with money a lot of times did it for status, to get the monument, to get their name on the building, and all that kind of stuff. So
yes, so let's not sugarcoat the Victorian era a small bit. I understand what his general point is about, people giving, and people in Britain used to give quite a lot. Yes, a lot of ways England used to give quite a lot to the rest of the world. Charity would not be the first thing that would come to my mind when it comes.
Well, when I think about the good things that UK has done, I think spearheading removing slavery as best they could from the Western world was probably about the best thing that has been done. And all the props in the world to them for doing that. And then everybody else getting on board because they had the Navy to do it.
Well, you have to remember the Belgium, Denmark, and everyone else got on board as well, who had a massive trading fleet, probably a bit bigger than Britain at the time, during that era. But at the end of the day, I understand his main point of getting people on the street to give to charities off their own back. Probably was great years ago, but now it'd be like trying to pull teeth, really, to be honest.
Well, at the percentage of tax that we're getting now with VAT taxes and sales taxes and property taxes and Melrose taxes, and I told you I'm paying over at front end. I'm at 49.1% of my income goes to taxes, and that's before you count in the tax I paid for the car I purchased, and the tax on the house that I live in, and the tax that I pay when I purchase gas, or any other of these little taxes and service fees and everything that's baked into it.
Yeah, I understand. I understand people are paying a higher rate of tax now. Well, I can only talk from the European point of view.
I pay half of my income plus to taxes.
I understand that.
Plus,
but you have to remember, we pay roughly in the same income about 31. Well, it depends on every year, the budget, about 31% tax. So when we hit the same point you're talking about, I know the figures, so we're not going to say your figures, but roughly about 31%. But you have to remember, then we have medical care, we have public transport, we have all different social programs, all this going on out of our tax base. Where I know in the US it's a bit opposite, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not great. So I showed you the financials, and I showed you the financials for the business, and I showed you the financials for just basic function. The state of California is a 13.3% capped.
I understand, but the point I'm trying to make, let's go back to the main point, is
Okay.
You have a bigger pot of tax in, say, in the United States. In general, you do. You have a bigger pot of tax. But out of that, what kind of social services do you get back in return? Say if you get sick in the morning.
If I get sick in the morning, I have paid for health insurance, and my paid for health insurance will allow me to go to an emergency room and be seen by doctors in the healthcare net that I am in.
And how do you feed and clothe yourself after you come out of hospital for a period of time?
Family, unless I have to hire some kind of worker, and that would not be on the state. I would have to figure out how to pay for that on my own. So
that's what I'm trying to say. Everyone has a different way of managing their tax budget. In the UK, like Ireland, have a massive social net underneath people.
Right. That's the one that's getting extracted right now.
It is, for the most part, it is getting, a lot of it has been, taken advantage of. It's interesting when I see over the United States when they turn around and say their social services are being taken advantage of. And then when you break it down, it's about $300 a month. You're kind of going, okay, you're giving out about $300 a month being scammed out of your system. We could lose up to $2.5, $3 a month, 10 times that. The person tries scamming our system.
Not great.
It's
not great. All right. Well, let's get back. Let's get back to Mr. Gold, Mr. Benjamin.
Because it got an endowment from Mark Zuckerberg to build a hospital.
Did you see that Curb Your Enthusiasm episode where they donate to wings of hospitals?
I haven't seen that.
Larry David and Ted Danson, the actor from Cheers.
Yeah.
And Larry's all happy with himself because he donated a wing, and it's called the Larry David wing. And then Ted Danson's one's called just Anonymous Donor, but everyone knows it's Ted Danson. And Larry's going around getting all upset, just like, how's he done this? He's telling everyone it's him and all that. But it's interesting to see Zuckerberg didn't call it just like the anonymous brackets, maybe Mark Zuckerberg.
Yeah, but this was totally normal, and it was a part of a much stronger society. When you export all of these things to the state, then people feel less inclined to do things for one another. And this has been just generally ascribed as the sort of collapse of civil society. When you've got a civil society where people feel that they have an obligation to get involved, then, well, things can be done without civil servants.
So, okay, then what is, and we don't have enough time for but a brief, you're in charge now.
Oh, God.
I imagine, I'm putting you in charge. I have that power, by the way, by virtue of my father working hard. Or something. And so what are some of the main big steps? Okay, because you don't want people being poor and being born in difficulties and having difficulties. So what do you...
So when the people cannot feel included in what is going on, then you lose that sense of community. When I contribute directly to my community, and I know that money is being used in a place where I can see its benefit, then I feel like I am part of my community. But we've lost with large state and federal agencies the ability to feel included in even a city community because our cities are massive. And then beyond that, the counties even bigger, and the states are just these massive behemoths. And then you include a federal government that's bigger than that. It's really hard to feel. Go ahead.
Yeah, I understand exactly what you're saying about state bodies. But at the end of the day, I understand that the point he's trying to make, that very few people talk to their neighbors anymore. There's a lack of community. He is right. Like, if you turn around and would you know 10 of your neighbors to walk up and talk to?
I would say 7 or 8 of them I know. And that's the houses that are right closest to me. And a lot of that has to do with defending ourselves from the HOA, right? Like when the HOA rolls by, we're like, oh my God, they'll send you pictures. You have a weed in your yard, and they send you a grainy picture. And I'm like, show me where the weed in the yard is. I have to pick. The lawn guy's going to be here.
I would never, ever live somewhere where I had that kind of thing going on. I'd be perfectly honest with you. You see my estate. I live in a pretty nice place.
Yeah, you live in a nice area. It's a beautiful home.
Because everyone looks after their own property.
Doesn't have air conditioning.
Well, we live in Ireland. We normally only get about 2 weeks or 2 or 3 weeks of summer a year, but it's going on a bit long this time. Well, we're used to it now. We're kind of just acclimatized to it now.
I hope so.
We'll probably be freezing we'll probably be giving out with the rain next week, but
I hope so. You said you wouldn't complain about the rain, but you will.
Yes. Hey, I wouldn't be Irish if I didn't give out about the weather sometime.
Right.
But let's get back to what he's saying there about Mark Zuckerberg giving all this money out of the goodness of his heart to a hospital. Most large organizations usually give money for one reason only, the charities, and that's a massive tax write-off. As
Absolutely.
well as
Well, generally speaking, a charity thing like that is going to give you a 1-for-1 tax liability return.
Oh, yeah.
Where many other things will be at some percentage. If I do this for taxes, I get this percentage. But when it comes to huge things like that, it's a 1-for-1.
1-for-1. So he's not really losing money out of his own back pocket, really. Let's call a spade a spade. He's not really losing out by doing this. And it's interesting that he brings up that example, because I know in the UK there's a lot of billionaires. There is a sort of few of them left hanging around, as they would say. And they don't seem to be dipping their hand in their pockets too much, for the most part. I've seen quite a few of them.
Yeah, there's some subsidies going on there with taxation and such, for sure.
No, well, most of the billionaires that are in the UK usually have their, head office over in the Cayman Islands or somewhere like that. So,
for sure,
that they can always dodge revenue that way.
Oh, it's because they're dodgy, right?
Oh yeah. Hey, you don't become a billionaire by being the cleanest guy on the street. Let's go that way.
Pretty much.
It has to be,
Has to? I don't know.
You do.
Well, I mean, being poor and having difficulties, being poor is a relative question, right? So, I mean, our poor have iPhones and they eat McDonald's. So, I mean, there are going to be kids in Africa who are in cobalt mines at the moment who say, you're not poor, right? Yeah. So, poverty is a relative phenomenon that is about comparison to the people around you. So I'm not going to try and eradicate poverty, because even if everyone's standard of living is that they're driving around in Jaguars, those people who don't have the flying cars will say, well, look how poor I am. I've only got a Jag, right?
Sure.
So that it's not about eradicating poverty. It's about making sure that everyone has a good opportunity and is not unfairly dealt with. So, for example, I think, and I'm not a free market guy either. Okay. I'm in favor of property ownership. I mean, we're at the point now where the free market is actively inhibiting people's abilities to buy property. So, I mean, part of the free market, I mean, if you look at the EU's, like the EU being like the ultimate neoliberal project, really, their 4 demands of the movement of goods, capital, labour, and something else. I can't remember, wealth probably. I can't remember what they're for. But the point is, if you've got a totally free market, then money can move to a certain place, but also labour can move to a certain place. And that means if you have a rich country, or what was a rich country, like Britain, and then that labour market is open to poor countries, then you get a distinctly unfair occurrence happening, which is the mass movement of people to that rich country, and that has knock-on effects. That's the reason rent is so high. You can't buy a house because...
And Britain just found out that it is, if it were a state in the United States, it would be the 51st state as far as function, below Mississippi and Louisiana. So they think that they're at the equivalent of a lot of other countries, and at this point, and they're not. They're not.
Like, even before Brexit, and let's call it spade a spade, even before Brexit happened with the UK, they were just barely, I think they were 9th in the EU when it came to wealth. They were slipping long before Brexit was happening. And now that Brexit has happened, and they wanted to control their own borders, everyone said, okay, you can have your own borders. Now, I think the problem with Britain is they got their wish, but they didn't know how to work with it afterwards. Like, they got the borders, they want to control their own borders, they can control their own borders, but they're not. They want to do a lot of different things, but they're not. They're not doing them well.
Well, the border from the Republic of Ireland to Northern Ireland is absolutely out of control. You can functionally walk across it a lot like anywhere you can walk from Canada into the United States.
To be straight on honest, all this comes down to the UK not controlling their borders, not just us. Because the government of the UK is actively sending them down from Northern Ireland to us.
Oh, I agree. I agree. Yeah.
Everyone knows what's going on. Everyone knows what's happening. The facts and figures came out.
Well, that's why they call it the Belfast route.
Yeah, 90% of the people who have come in here into my country illegally have come from the Northern Ireland border. It's very simple. That's down to the UK not controlling their borders in the first place.
Or not, even worse, encouraging it. Go to the
I wouldn't
EU.
say that- I
Go
wouldn't-
to Ireland.
I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that the UK is encouraging it. They're just a complete basket case at the moment when it comes to their borders. Like, it's not too hard to stop people coming over your channel. We've got the British Navy, for God's sake. You know, it's not too hard. The English Channel is not that hard to control, surely. It's not that hard to patrol your airports or your troop stations and so on. It's not that hard. They have the British Army. They have the resources there to do it if they're willing to do it.
Right,
no,
but their unwillingness indicates that they don't care about that border. If they cared about that border, they would secure it in such a way as to keep Ireland safe as another country that they respect.
Well, don't get me wrong. We should patrol our own border up in Northern Ireland as well, which is, by the way, the first time in a long time that's openly been discussed by our government.
Well, the other problem you have is that,
by the way, it's the first time since the Troubles are openly talking about it. Just bear that in mind.
The other problem is a third-party safe country problem. If they're coming across the English Channel, they're in France. That is considered a safe country. Why are you putting them on boats? Why isn't the French government going, hey, you guys can't get on boats, and send them back to Turkey where they came from initially?
Well,
or wherever.
Historically, the EU was dumping their problem on a non-EU country. That's pretty much what's happening. And the UK is a non-EU country, so it's easy to dump them there. It's like Spain sent all the guys back to a non-EU country in Morocco. You know, once we get the problem out with the EU, we don't really care where they go after that.
But the problem is that they're still part of NATO. And Article 5 would indicate that if I'm sending military-age males...
By the way...
No, I understand.
Yeah.
They're different. But if you are sending a massive amount of fighting-age men to another country, you are fomenting an invasion. That's functionally what you're doing.
And by the way, do you think anyone is going to come to Britain's defense?
Somebody better. They're not going to do it themselves.
To be straight out and honest, look at all the rest of the NATO members. If we just looked at NATO, for instance, the United States has its own difficulties at the moment going on. The rest of the NATO members have a very uneasy working relationship with the UK. Like, the UK is now trying to reach out across the water to its EU partners to help with this migration issue. And the EU is just kind of going, well, you know what you told us to do a couple of years ago? You know,
yeah,
what
they
you want
said
from
the
us now?
thing. Yeah. Now you want our help? Now you're crying wolf? Right.
No, the best thing the UK could do is solve their own problems themselves. Is sit down and look at their major parties and think, the Tories have screwed them so many times, it's ridiculous. Labour's the same. Now, they keep voting the same people expecting different results. Maybe next time they go to the polls, voting different people and see what happens then. As I said, it's not too hard for them to patrol their own borders. They should.
Absolutely. All right, let's get back to it.
Because it turns out that people from elsewhere are people and they need to live somewhere and they want to get jobs. And this means that the cost of housing goes up massively, but also wages are depressed because of the job market becomes a buyer's market rather than a seller's market. So if you're running a business, you've got lots of different people to choose from. You can actually start undercutting until you get to a person who is prepared to work for a much lower wage than someone else. If you had a more narrow pool of recruits, applicants, then you would have to be more competitive with what you're offering. And then, of course, if you've got a narrow pool of applicants, that means you've got fewer people. So someone who's renting a house can't say, right, I'm going to rent it out for £2,000 a month. It's going to be only £1,000 a month. So it changes the dynamic of who benefits from these things.
Also, when it comes to the government contracts for housing, those people who are coming over, you saw yourself. They're making what every day in a hotel that they're giving out to all this money. Every day is the best day ever because all of your rooms are filled at the absolute maximum rate, doubled. And as opposed to renting day to day, maybe getting tenancy in your hotel, and maybe you'll make, 150 quid, whatever, 150 bucks, right? Each individual person is getting 330 pounds a day. And then you have 8 people in the room. So that's 8 times 330 times 365.
We all understand this. We all understand what's going on. We know the facts and the figures. But what he's saying is it's not just down to accommodation. It's also the job market, the social pressure in all your systems. There's a massive knock-on effect to
right, because there's limited resources and they're being handed to those who didn't contribute into the system at all. So you have economic migrants and those who come from other places. And like you said, they need to live somewhere. They need to, they're going to at least attempt to get a job unless they can get on some kind of assistance. And then they'll just take from the state if they can do that.
Yeah. We did a video there recently of a young lady actually in the UK who decided to rent out to a couple of individuals. Totally not from India, by the way. Probably not. Totally not from the Middle East. And you saw what happened to her rental property after a couple of years.
Well, they showed the curry stains on the wall, so I don't know.
Yes,
who might cook curry, but whoever it is, roughly destroyed.
Let's call it what they are. You're bringing a third world civilization into your country, and you expect them to act like they're living in the first world. It's never going to work.
It's not going to happen. We are also watching Basic Logic, who is discussing some of the reasons why this is bad, tribal interaction, and even some basic IQ stuff.
Yeah, they have no problem scamming the living daylights out of your system. No, there's no morality there.
Right.
You see for free, they will scam you out of it.
Right, the you got an ease out problem for sure.
Oh yeah, massively, absolutely massively.
And so I would probably stop immigration at this point. Yes. Oof. Yeah. And it's the fact that sounds extreme really tells us a lot about the position we've come to, right? Because it's totally unusual to have immigration. Most countries don't have immigration.
Is that right?
Yeah, because nobody wants to go there. Right? I mean, like, how many immigrants do you think Uganda takes every year?
Well, I couldn't say. I know in Argentina, loads of Bolivians are going in, Venezuelans are all going in there, but I guess Argentina...
Okay, well, how many people are immigrating to Bolivia?
Maybe Paraguayans. I really don't know.
But the point is, most countries aren't actually a lodestone for mass immigration, right? It's actually not normal to get millions of people every year, 1.4 million this year, 1.3 million last year, 1.2 million before Conservative government. It's actually not normal to have this kind of mass movement of people.
So the population of the UK is roughly, I believe, 66 million. Roughly the population of Ireland is 6 million, right? So you have 2 islands, if you include Manx, a little bit more.
Yeah.
So
I understand the point he's trying to say there about mass immigration coming in. We understand the UK is trumping, on about that all the time. And we understand it. But as I said at the end of the day, it's very easy for them to secure their borders. It's not, as he's saying there, it's not rocket science. Just stop migration in the morning. Just stop immigration.
Yeah, 73 million people on those 2 islands and the outlier islands around Isle of Wight and Isle of Man and all that stuff. So if you just stop it and say, we're not doing this, that's a thing they can do. You can very well just say, no, our cultural identity is getting drowned out by the third world because we've let too many in. We need to take time to get them to assimilate or kick them out for not becoming part of what it means to be a British citizen.
Yes.
I don't know why this is difficult to understand. Why do we need to reach out to economic migrants and put a lot of military-age males milling around our cities in the middle of the day? We're just extracting the resources. It makes no sense. They're moving hundreds of more people into small little country manor towns in England. Like there's 500 to 700 people who live there. Some of them are farmers. There's a little city center. And then you have 800 to 1,000 migrants that move in and they're just milling around town, walking up the houses. Like, what are you doing? Right. And then the vetting process is horrible. They're saying they're asylum seekers. Great. But why didn't we stop them as they came in to ask the questions as opposed to setting them up and then asking them questions later? It's like the housing first homeless process where it's not because they're homeless. They're on the street because they're doing dope. You need to fix the dope before you can fix the housing problem.
Yeah.
Right. Right? So
when the cart
it's
on
ass.
horse, yeah.
It is ass backwards, 100%.
Yes.
Right.
Oh, by the way, we're not. He's right when it comes to migration. By the way, it's always the G20 countries who get hit massively when it comes to mass movements of people. Because
Right. And here's
the
the big one.
G20 countries are, for the most part, economically wealthy. In a lot of ways, they're seen that way.
And here's a great one. There are 50 Muslim countries. Why do Muslims not go to other Muslim countries? If they want to emigrate to a place that has their cultural background, be it Shia or Sunni or whatever, right? Why aren't they going to other Muslim countries? Well, it's because they want to go to a place where they can have some part of the pie that the G20 countries have.
Yes.
And there's some other nefarious things in there as well, but living a better life.
Yeah.
What you said before, people who are poor in the UK have an iPhone and they can eat McDonald's. In the eyes of someone from sub-Saharan Africa who's dying in cobalt mines, right? Read the book, Red Cobalt. You will thank me for it later. That they're saying you are rich beyond compare. You cannot even understand. You have a supercomputer in your hand. You have a car in the driveway and you can eat fast food. You don't have to worry. Where's your next meal coming from? Is there water going to come out of the shower today or the sink? Yeah, you want water, it's there. You want to go to the store is there. All those things logistically have been provided for you.
But the problem is, at the moment, he's right about renting and all other services that everyone relies on. Before it was easy enough. You go on to your rental site, you can always find somewhere to rent.
Oh, for sure.
Now, every G20 is having lines around. If one flat goes up, you'll have about 100 people applying for it. Easily, if not more.
Makes sense.
It's unbelievable how badly hit our countries have got in the last while. I think it took a long time for people to wake up, and they have in a lot of ways. And it's not down to, say, the likes of Trump or anyone like that. I think it's just down to normal people waking up in the morning and looking out their front doors. And I think people are just tired of just saying, do you know what? I'm paying a fortune in taxes, and these guys just waltz in. They get houses, get cars, they get everything, and I'm still sitting here paying all my bills.
You said something earlier. Do you know 10 of your neighbors? Right?
Yes.
And like I said, I know 7 or 8 of them, right? Some pretty cool people, but I'm not regularly having community type hangout stuff with them. I'm hanging out with other folks, right?
Yes.
But when you don't know the people in your neighborhood, you won't know the person who moves in just a couple of blocks away might not be the best of people because nobody's keeping tabs on what's going on in the neighborhood. And it used to be a high trust thing. You just trusted the people that move in were going to be pretty cool. But now that you can't trust that, you just can't.
Well, but by the way, when it comes to neighborhoods, it depends on what neighborhoods you're talking about. There's some neighborhoods, let's face it, there were never high trust areas. And there's always, as I've always said.
For sure.
I know normally when I see guys who talk about a high trust society or a high trust.
Right. No, I get what you're saying.
Trust,
but here's
high trust areas. But
I have 2 neighbors. Go ahead.
Let's go back to the good old days, as people said, 1980s, 1990s, those kind of days when people are on about, back then we could all trust our neighbors. And I didn't ever turn around and ask them.
It's a sliding scale.
I said, where did you live? And they'll tell me where they live. And I was going, well, all your neighbors were very, very middle class or up. So they were not going to rob you. I said, maybe if you lived in such and such an area growing up, you probably have a different view of the world. But the problem is now, a lot of these so-called middle class neighborhoods are becoming low trust because slowly but surely over time, those guys, from different parts of the world who are having such good intentions are suddenly moving into these neighborhoods. And as you say, that's why it becomes from a high trust to low trust.
So I have 2 neighbors, and before about 18 months ago, all of the lawns on my block were green. Everything, the whole block green, right? Everything was good. But now I have 2 neighbors whose lawns are dead, and I'm in an HOA, and I'm like, who is contacting these people to say something to them? Like, what the hell's going on? So I'm like, yeah, not great. But I would never. But understand the problem I have is a first world problem, and I get it. It's a first world. By the way, my neighbor's grass, right?
Yeah, I would never live in a place where I had HOA. By the way, I always said that to you. I find that it's like having a little little angry Karen running around the place with a little clipboard. I just have that vision saying your grass is 2 inches too high, or your bin was out for an extra 5 minutes. They're not like that, are they?
Well, no, because all those people got fired about 3 years ago. All the ones that were trying to get all crazy like that. The community got together and said, you all need to go because you can't control yourselves around adult people, and we don't accept your attitude. So y'all are gone, and we're going to put new people in. And the new people we have in are pretty cool, but now they're a little lax because, like I said, I got neighbors who are violating policies left, right, and center, and nothing's happening to them. Anyway, let me get off my soapbox and let's listen to what Mr. Benjamin has to say here.
It's in unusual cases like the United States or Britain or Europe where this happens. Most countries are actually kind of static when it comes to their population because usually there's no incentive to go there, right? But we're in this unusual position where we've had this for 25 years, and so now a quarter of England and Wales are foreign born. And it's like, right, okay, this was not how things should have gone. The infrastructure we're using was built in the 70s and the 80s, when the population of the entire country was something like 55 million, 56 million, and the population now is probably over 70 million. Although the census says 69 million, there are going to be lots of people who aren't counted.
Census just has a sense of humour, dirty one.
Oh, yeah. And so this is why everything is failing, right? Everything costs the NHS will never not be funded. Like the constant refrain with the NHS is, oh, the Tories are not, cutting the funding of the NHS. It's like, no, you can look at the NHS funding. It's this constant upward graph. The problem is when you bring in millions of people every year, a million, well, the burden on the free at point of service health service just keeps going up. And so there's no end to this. And then you go, okay, why aren't the house prices going down? There's going to be.
So that has to do with having a welfare state and what is functionally open borders. You cannot have those two things together. You can't.
No,
because then all the resources get extracted.
I think that's the point he's trying to get to. He's right. You either have one or the other. You can't have both.
Yeah, a serious safety net or immigration. And the United States had a lot of that. Get to the United States, there's no social safety network. You root hog or die, and literally root hog or die. That's your choices. If you succeed, then hey, good job.
That's because most of your immigration usually comes from the southern states, from Mexico and down, from South America, for the most part, isn't it?
Currently, no, but I'm talking about in the late 1700s, 1800s into the 1900s, right?
Let's talk about the modern times. Let's talk about the last 30 years. Most of your immigrations usually come from South America, isn't it?
Well, that's where the bodies physically come from, but those bodies.
That's where they physically come from.
Right. So a lot of how this worked was they would get to South America somewhere, some enclave, and then they'd have to get up through Central America through a thing called the Darien Gap. If they got north of the Darien Gap, then they went through all the Central American countries, and they were functionally given a red carpet treatment right up to the American border and through. So that means we got Venezuelans, we got Middle Eastern folks, we got Indians, we got folks from Mexico, all of the Latin countries down there.
But I'm fair enough now, most of the Indians are coming into, say, the likes of Florida and them, are being brought in by U.S. companies, aren't they?
Right, for H-1B visas. Yeah, we talked to Doubting Thomas about that, and he said, and I get that Doubting Thomas is not doing all the things he needs to do to get off the schneid. I love the man. I love the brother. But the thing is that there are so many H-1B visas that all of their salaries functionally undercut any American citizen. On top of that, they're functionally forced into, and it happens with people from like Jamaica and stuff too. They get forced into industries.
You know what that's called? That's called the free market forces. It's a very interesting economic term that explains why companies sometimes say, do you know what? If I can get a guy for half the price of the other guy, I'm going to go to do the same job. These things happen.
And most of the times, those are like good enough jobs. It's not like your neurosurgeons.
To be honest, like there's a couple of guys we watch on YouTube, a couple of, America First guys, the MAGA hats, the whole lot going on. And every single IT job they have, from anything all the way up, they have outsourced to India.
Yes.
But they're always very much about, America first. And you're kind of going, yeah, but you're not spending your money in America, are you? You're kind of, getting the guys over in India to do your work for you.
Well, Pakistan too.
What I'm trying to say is at the end of the day, market forces are going to be market forces, no matter how patriotic you are.
And he brought that up before. He brought that up earlier too.
Yeah, if you own an yeah, he said it earlier. If you own and operate a business in the UK or Ireland or US,
Anywhere really, yeah.
if you're a business owner and you're looking at your balance sheet, and by the way, most businesses, your highest expenditure is always going to be labor,
Yes.
no matter what it is. If you can cut that by at least 30%, you're saving a hell of a lot of money every year.
Oh, for sure.
A lot of that money's going to your back pocket.
Dollars, euros, and pounds, you're saving them for sure.
Exactly. Now, what there should be in place is protections around certain jobs.
Yes.
That you have to be at a certain level to get this job. You have to have this qualification to get this job. We're going to hire you based on your CV and your work ethic.
Right. A meritocracy for sure. Not
yes,
I hired 3 people that I pay less than the one person that was doing it before. Right?
Yes. But if there's companies who are playing fast and loose with, say, the H-1B visas and so on, are playing fast and loose with the law like that, there should be a consequence.
For sure.
As well.
For sure.
There should be basically a tax consequence is the only way you kind of hit these guys, by the way.
Well, you keep telling me there might be a brown envelope involved, and I'm thinking you could be right.
Oh, well, there's not. The brown envelope is big profits at the end of the year. That's the biggest brown envelope you'll ever get in these companies.
All right, here we go.
There's got to be a collapse in the housing market. No, because there's constant demand. You're bringing in more and more people. So there's never a point at which that can go down because these people need to live in houses, obviously. And then the job market, why aren't people's wages going up? Well, because there's no incentive to hire you, who wants a higher wage, over someone who's content with a lower wage. And so these things all add up. And so after 25 years, and after, I think it's about 15 million people who are here now, who weren't here 20 years ago, that just has to stop because it's destroying the country. And that's not even to speak of the cultural displacement of the native peoples of the British Isles or anything like that. That is purely to speak on an economic level. The country is being destroyed by mass immigration.
There's that argument. Did you ever see that Kelly Osbourne, Sharon Osbourne's daughter?
I did. Who's going to?
Yeah. But the thing about that is, she said that, and it came out not how she wanted to say it. Yeah, what was it? Who's going to
cleaners?
Who's going to clean our toilets?
Yeah, who's going to clean our toilets? Yeah, and there was a woman on Question Time who said, "Who's going to serve our coffee at Pret?" It's like teenagers.
That's great, but yeah, okay. I thought when she said that, I felt a bit bad for her because she obviously didn't mean it that way.
Yeah,
and I felt like the others rounded on her, and the bad thing there was like the hypocrisy is like, but they're all thinking it because they are super rich, Hollywood, whatever, who are just thinking, I want people to come in so they can clean my toilets. Yeah.
And that disconnect from reality is a bit of a problem, right? So functionally what you're saying is that I need a slave caste of laborers who take almost no money. I don't talk to them. They just perform the task. And
do you ever hear the expression, she said the quiet part out loud?
Yes. All of them on the panel were like, well, we don't think like, you do.
We would never think like that.
Do.
While they go home and pay their, workers, I'm going to say non quotation, workers, $10 an hour to clean their bathrooms. They're on their...
Much less than that.
By the way, I know the panel she was on. I'm talking about like the Whoopi Goldberg and all the rest of them.
Oh, no. Was that The View? Was it The View?
It was.
Oh,
it was. I do remember that.
I remember when Whoopi Goldberg was funny. I actually saw her stand up a long time ago. She was hilarious.
Yeah, but even Whoopi Goldberg took a step back. I remember took a step back going, well, my kids clean up the house when I'm here. She was very much like, oh, but the other ladies on the panel were very much like trying to keep their heads down because you knew for a fact that they all had, the lady from South America cleaned their bathrooms. You knew it.
Workers.
Yes, workers. I keep saying that in quotations. Problem was with poor Kelly Osbourne. She said the quiet part out loud on national television.
You are not allowed back in the nice place because you said the thing out loud we're all not looking at. All right.
Yes, we look after our workers very well. We give them an extra $10 at Christmas.
Nice.
Round on Kelly Osbourne, who didn't really mean what she'd said.
She just blurted it out.
Yeah, I felt a bit bad for her, and it's that thing of like, oh no, honey, you said the wrong thing.
Yeah.
All this stuff, and they are thinking it. However, there is a bit of like people born here who have had generations to build up and build up, after generations of being in this country, don't want to be doing those jobs that might seem ambitious to somebody who is born in a very difficult circumstance somewhere else. Is there not, I know you're saying teenagers, but teenagers are just, I don't know, they're born in such a world that I don't see them doing those jobs.
Well, that's only because we've allowed it to happen. I mean, when I was a teenager, you got a job in a bar or a pret or, you know.
A bar or a pret. Toilets.
Yeah, I've cleaned toilets. You know, like these are jobs that you're supposed to do when you're young, because they don't pay very well. You know, they're not brilliantly paying. They're not meant to be careers, right? But we're turning them into careers, and this is not good. And we deprive people of a kind of life experience, right? Because okay, I don't want to do that. Yeah, but you're 17 and you want some money to go out partying on Saturday. What are you going to do? You know, it's like, well, I'll just go out. I won't go out. It's like, no, you're just going to like, okay, fine, I'll get the job. I'll get the money. Then I'll go out and have a good time with my friends. And that'll be a learning experience. Then you go off to university and you get a career, whatever.
He's right. I remember when I was young, I did all kinds of odd jobs in the summertime to make some money. We've talked about it on the show in the past.
Yeah.
From age 15, I was doing something, trying to make a little bit of money here and there when I wasn't doing sports stuff. Right? If I didn't have an after-school thing, my after-school thing was go chase down some money, figure out how to get the money together to buy a $500 or $600 Chevy Love truck or whatever, just to make a little money to be able to get around town. And my independence, my freedom was super important, and the ability to get out of the house and do that. Now kids just aren't leaving the house.
By the way, I don't blame the kids. 100% don't blame the kids. I blame the parents in a lot of ways, because kids learn from their parents. I think the worst parents I ever come across. You ever hear the term helicopter parents?
Lawnmower parents. Yeah, same thing. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, we have them over here. And I made a suggestion one time to one of these ladies about her daughter and son. I think maybe what they would be very good for them is, because she was giving up because they're sitting around all weekend doing very little. I said, why not get them a part-time job? She nearly lost her life. Or anything could happen to them. You know, I was kind of going, like what? Like, you know, what could have possibly happened to them inside a workplace?
So when you were a kid, did your dad say, hey, there's sunlight out there, get the hell out of my house, and go get all that sun, like go do something out there.
No, it gets worse. It gets worse because I've seen these kids now years later, and I've ran into them ever since lockdown was lifted. I ran to a good few ex-clients, you would say. And most of them, for the most part, are still at home. Or if they're not at home, they're in a council situation.
Council housing, right?
The parents are still looking after them, because little Johnny and Mary is just misunderstood. And I said, okay, you're still babying them at 20 odd years of age. Okay, that's not good. Now they have kids, and guess what's going to happen? The cycle will just keep repeating.
Oh, and even worse than that, because they don't have the skill set to provide for those kids, right? Well,
the sad thing is, these kids are complete basket cases for the most part. They have no life experience as such, because they haven't really operated in the real world, as the gentleman was saying. They haven't gone out and met people or dealt with the public in any meaningful way.
Right. Well, I remember when I was a kid, you had to negotiate, right? So you go down to the park, play ball with your buddies, and then you say something wildly individualistic, and somebody, give you a little slap and
call you honest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe you get thumped.
Say you go to work. Yeah, or you go to a workplace and you say something wildly inappropriate. The manager will call you aside and say, hey, this is not the place for any of this. And guess what? You learn a very valuable life lesson.
Right. Now, if you want to keep making the money, you better shut your pie hole and provide the goods or service we're providing here. Like, I don't want your opinion. I want your labor. I'm paying for your labor, not your mouth.
Now it gets worse, because I got slightly off the topic when it comes to migration. But now that we have a lot of people coming in who are willing to do these jobs, these teenagers don't have the opportunity to get these jobs or life experiences, which will damage them in years to come, because most of them do not turn out to be very well functioning adults.
Right. On top of that, the lack of assimilation causes issues as well.
Stop. They go from 0 to 90 in 2 seconds flat. It's like when I was working and I was driving to work and I got a flat tire. Guess what? I solved it myself. Now, when I see these kids, if they get any life obstacle, even a flat tire, they're straight onto the parents, and it's like the end of the world. They're roaring down the phone. They're just going from 0 to 90 because they have zero self-control. And now that we have all these migrants coming in,
Or what
these
you
kids
could
are
do,
not going to get in.
what you could do is you could get the spare tire out of the boot or the trunk
Yes.
and lift your car up,
Oh, no.
off the
Oh, it gets
lug
worse.
nuts,
Oh,
get your car back on the road. Boom, done.
yeah.
Do all
Oh, no,
that.
it gets worse. 'Cause 9 times out of 10, I guarantee you, if you talk to any of these parents, they literally will drive out and change the tire for them. Or they'll pay someone to change the tire for them. Or they'll solve the problem for them. They don't give them the tools to fix the problem. They haven't.
Yeah, one of my kids came to me, it was a few months ago, and whining and bitching. I was like, hey, child of mine, what happens if your tire goes out while you're out there in the world? My child says, I just put the tire back on. I'm like, right, but other people aren't doing that. They're just not doing that. So I gave you a good skill set to be successful so that people don't jam you up and you can handle things on your own. And
Yeah.
you're giving out to me about what now? Like, I gave you a great set of tools. I didn't do a bad job. Parenting's a good enough sport. I did pretty darn good, you know?
No, I think we're going slightly off track, as they would say. But just to finish up this episode, with all these migrants coming in, there's going to be fewer and fewer jobs around. Not, by the way, not just part-time jobs for these kids, but full-time,
Any jobs.
decent jobs.
Mhm.
And now with the fact that a lot of these kids don't have life experience or life skills in general, they will have very little chance of getting any meaningful job or career, which is a detriment as well to society in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I think Mr. Benjamin is right. Shut the door. Shut the door.
Yes.
Except for the superstar passports, shut the door. Get everybody assimilated into the culture. If they don't assimilate, then they go back. If you can't be part of the solution, you're part of the problem, and the problem has to go. So,
Oh, definitely.
alrighty. For Patrick McCallum, I am Alex Johansson. Like the like, ring the bell, subscribe, and help us beat the algorithm. We're the A&P Gents, and we are out.